Have you ever fallen asleep on the last tram or subway? If you have, you know what happens. At the very last station, an attendant, or in some cases the driver, will wake you up and tell you to get off. Then, you'll have to figure out how to get home on your own. At times, things can get a bit more unlucky and people are missed. In my city, those people will end up in one of the 3 large depots that the trams are returned to each night. These are large maintenance halls with enough room for more than 100 trams. During the day, these depots are buzzing with employees. There are tram drivers who arrive and start their daily shift. There are the maintenance staff who do their regular checkups on the tram cars and take care of repairs. And then there's the office staff who take care of all sorts of logistics. At night though, when the last trams for the day arrive, there is only one person left at that depot. Me. I'm the lucky bastard who has to go through the trams that arrive at the depot in the evening and during the night. My job consists of checking them for lost items, cleaning up any serious mess, and reporting damages done to the interior. Every so often, though, I also have to handle those poor people who are forgotten at the last station. It's by no means a common thing. As I said, it is the driver's job to send everyone out before the trams are returned to the depots. There are some, though, who are lazy and can't be bothered to do the checkups. Others are just plain assholes. My reaction to these occurrences is a mixture of pity and anger. Pity for the person who ends up at the depot, and anger for the driver who didn't do his damn job. I'm especially pissed because I have to walk whoever ended up here to the end of the premises and send them on their way. It's only mildly annoying if it's some guy who fell asleep after a long day at work. But the real shitfest starts if it's some drunkard or druggie. I once found a guy in a tram who was so drunk he couldn't walk anymore. After trying to lead him out of the depot for half an hour, I gave up and just put him to rest in one of the trams. I sent him off in the morning with one of the first lines leaving. Then there was a homeless guy. He was the crazy type. The moment I tried to enter the tram car he was in, he woke up and threatened to attack me or stab me. For some time, I tried to calm him down. Finally, though, when he started the ruckus in the tram car itself, I was forced to call the cops. I ended up staying almost 2 hours longer than I should have that night. The truth is, the tram depot can be quite creepy at night. Sure, the whole thing is ablaze with lights, but it doesn't help. The place is absolutely gigantic, the size of many soccer fields. Try to imagine yourself in a giant hall, consisting of nothing but a small office area and dozens of tracks, on which the trams are parked one after another for hundreds of meters. At night, when I'm there alone, the whole place is in utter solitude. Even the smallest of sounds not coming from yourself can cause a feeling of dread. What if is a common thought on my mind. I never know exactly what I'm terrified of, though. In the end, it's rare that anyone is trapped in the trams, and there is no reason for anyone to want to break in here. I mean, you can't steal a tram, or a maintenance bay. And of course, security cameras are surrounding the premises. What I'm trying to say is that there is no reason to be anxious. None at all. I guess I just can't help it at times. I blame my obsession with horror movies for this. Now, here's the thing. On a typical weekday, there aren't many trams running at night. From around midnight until 5 in the morning, the stations are only served once every hour, if at all. So there's not a lot going on at the depots. On the weekends, you've got trams coming and going at all times, and you're almost never alone. On weekdays though, things are different. The last tram of the day arrives at around 1 in the morning, and that's about it. I often have a short chat or smoke with the driver before he makes his way home. After that, I'm pretty much on my own, having to handle lights out and all that. Last Tuesday was one of those nights. That day though, I couldn't help but feel unsettled. After the driver of the last tram had left, I was again all by myself. I don't know why or where it came from, but I had this strange feeling that someone was watching me. It was the weirdest of sensations. I looked around and let my gaze slide over all the trams. But of course, there was no one there. A little bit apprehensive, I entered the last tram and walked through it. There was an empty beer bottle here, some McDonald's packaging over there, and someone had forgotten a handbag. Thankfully, there was nothing damaged or broken. I threw away the trash, and I took the handbag to our small lost and found room. The moment I returned, I saw something. Down the line of trams, I saw a figure inside one of the cars. It looked almost as if someone was sitting inside. It was a tram further down the line, which meant it must have arrived a couple of hours ago, in the early evening. How could someone still be inside? Had I forgotten to check the tram? That made no sense. As I made my way towards it, the figure did not move at all. Almost as if it was frozen up. Must be asleep, I told myself. I cursed under my breath and started walking down the line of trams. I really did not want to deal with someone right now. I stepped past the locked doors of the dark tram cars, only for that crawling sense of dread to come back to me. For a moment, I stopped as I felt goosebumps on the back of my neck. I jerked around and I looked back at where I'd come from. Nothing. I breathed a sigh of relief, and I was about to continue on my way when I saw that figure ahead was gone. What in the... I whispered to myself. I quickened my pace, and the moment I reached the tram, I peered inside. There was no one there. I took out my keys, unlocked the door, and entered. Is there anyone in here? Hello? I walked through, from front to back, but found nothing. I began to get a bit unnerved. I had been strangely on edge all night, so Had I just been imagining things? I had seen it so clearly though. In the end, I shook my head and told myself that I was getting tired. I really should get things finished up for tonight and make my way home. Once I was back at the front of the depot, I heard something again. At first, I told myself that my mind must be playing tricks on me still. The more I listened though, the clearer I heard it. It sounded like shuffling feet. Suddenly I felt very cold. I told myself again to just finish things up, to ignore whatever was going on here. Somehow though, I could not do that. I started to walk past the tracks, and I had a look down the corridors between the lines of trams. Where was it coming from? I had only walked past half of the tracks when I could make out something. It was a person. As I stopped, I saw a tiny old lady. She was wearing a dress and holding a handbag that was swinging back and forth with each of her steps. What the hell was she doing here at a time like this? Was she the one I'd seen before? Had she left the tram and made her way over here? "Ma'am, excuse me, is everything all right?" I called out to her. She didn't react at all. Instead, I could see that she continued to shuffle in my direction, one step at a time, almost dragging herself forward. I took a few steps in her direction when I heard her speak.
"Oh my, can you help me out? Would you please come over here?"
I stopped right there in my tracks. The voice sounded wrong.
"Would you please come over here?"
The voice repeated. That same off-putting voice, and the same drawn-out words. I felt a shiver running down my spine, and my arms were covered in goosebumps. Something was wrong here. As I stood there and looked on, she stared at me, and she did repeat it a third time. And honestly, I'm not sure if I even saw her mouth move. Then, for a moment, the whole depot seemed to turn darker, as if all the lights above were dimmed out. There was a kind of lurking shadow behind the old lady. It was a strange, twisted thing, as gigantic as the lady was small. I saw it move forward and stretch into my direction. It reminded me of a bird of prey. It looked almost as if it was reaching out towards me with ghastly wings and talons. I inched back a few steps, and the vision was gone again. I stood there, shaking and sweaty. I shook my head in confusion. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. It was just in my mind. At that moment, I saw something else that made me forget the strange vision from before. There was a sticky, dark liquid all below her and down the corridor. It looked as if it was running down from her body. What the hell? Was she bleeding? "Wait, hold on a moment, what's that?" I said. But I broke up when she repeated that sentence once again. Not thinking clearly, I ran back to the office area. What the hell was wrong with her? Was she hurt or something? I picked up the emergency phone to dial for an ambulance when some other thought hit me. Once I finished up the checkup of a tram, it is locked. It's common procedure. Sure, with enough strength you can probably push the doors open and get out. They're hydraulic after all. You'd need a whole lot of strength to do that though. Not even I'm able to do it. So, how the hell would this old lady be able to do it on her own? If she had been in one of the trams and I had missed her before, she would still be locked in there. If she came into the depot to get help, why was she in the back? There's no back entrance. The only way in is via the front. I would have seen her. None of this added up.
Would you please come over here?
I heard her voice again. It was right outside the office now. I froze when I heard the shuffling feet and when the office door creaked. She was repeating the same sentence over and over again. With each time, it was a little more off than the time before. There was something else resonating within it. It was almost as if a sinister laugh was underlying. Some kind of barely hidden anticipation. Then, the door was pushed open, and I saw it again. That lurking, shadowy, vulture-like shade. It forced itself through the office door into my direction, dimming out all the light in the room. Before I could even think, my flight response was triggered. I rushed towards the door and got out of there. I didn't look back, I didn't lock up, and I didn't turn off the lights. Nothing. I ran from that place for dear life. Of course, my boss tore me a new one when I came to work the next day. What was I thinking? Why didn't I lock up? What if something had happened? I didn't tell him what I'd seen. I mean, who would believe a story like that? Everything was normal, and the place was busy with maintenance staff and drivers as usual. Finally, I asked him about the old lady and the trail of blood that I'd seen next to track 6. He told me there was nothing there, no liquid or anything. What was I even talking about? When I asked him if he'd checked the security footage, he shook his head. Didn't get time to do that yet. With that, he got up and walked over to the laptop. Hold on. He clicked around a few times, and then I saw him focus on the screen. I stood there and I watched him. I saw his face go blank, and then, after a while, all the color vanished from it. What is... I started to ask. But before I could finish, he slammed the laptop shut. Nothing. Nothing at all, he said, fear audible in his voice. After that, he told me to go home, have the next few days off and come back next week. I had truly hoped that there was nothing, and that I had just imagined the whole thing. As I type this out though, I know that something was there. And even though he said nothing, I know that my boss saw it in those tapes as well.